Video 16 is about adding further contrasts. We're finally getting back to the all-important results, having taken a sidetrack doing all the image processing so we could better visualize what we found, because so far we've only looked at a single contrast, and now we need to spend a bit of time with the contrast manager, which can be a little bit tricky to get used to, but once you've got the hang of it, you should be able to understand how you can easily add lots and lots of contrasts and fully understand what all the interactions are between the different contrasts and conditions in your study. We've gone through a lot of processes here, from image processing through statistics, quickly looking at some results. We need to go back to our results now, because if you recall, so far we've just specified a single contrast, and that is to subtract the regressors from scrambled faces from the whole faces. And if you recall, the way we did that, this is a design matrix here, is to put a +1 on all the face conditions for the 5 participants and a -1 on all the scrambled conditions for each of the 4 participants. So our T contrast is 1 of faces plus -1 of scrambled plus 1 of face plus -1 of scrambled, and we specified it with a vector, a contrast weights vector. So just going to do a few more T contrasts now, and they're all going to be the obvious ones. You just see it, just to remind how they're specified. So this is the faces minus the scrambled. What we need to remember is what order we did all the other conditions, so that we can see if there's something specific for scenes or places and for objects. So we can define a new contrast, and we give it a name, and we'll call it objects more than scrambled. We put in the contrast weight vector for that. If for any reason you've forgotten which order you specified the conditions, you've got to remember this contrast weights matrix doesn't give the names of the regressors. So there's a high possibility that we've actually got the information here. Nope, we haven't. So let's just go to review and look at the SPM.mat, and we can see that we have faces, then scrambled, then objects, then places. So the third regressor is objects, and the fourth is places or scenes. So now if we go back to the contrast manager, we've got the names there. It's easier to make sure we don't make a mistake. So it's 0 on the faces, and -1 on the scrambled, +1 on the objects, and 0 on the places or scenes. And I could just select that, copy it, and paste it in again another 4 times for the remaining participants. But it's so simple. I'll just type it. So it's a 0, -1, 1, 0 for the second participant. 0, 0, -1, 1, 0 for the third participant, 0, -1, 1, 0 for the fourth participant, and 0, -1, 1, 0 for the fifth participant, and a 0 weight on the 5 constants as well. We don't have to type those in, they'll put in automatically. I'm going to have to stop that and start again. Or maybe cut that bit out. Message from a former PhD student, so it's about research, that's fine. So we just click on submit, and I've already pressed submit now. I click on OK, and we now have objects more than scrambled. And the next obvious one to do is then do places more than scrambled. And so that's a 0 on faces, -1 on scrambled, 0 on objects, and a 1 on places. So those are 3 of the logical contrasts. We should also do a few others just to be on the safe side. Normally, if you do a T-contrast to show what areas are activated more than another, you would normally do the reverse contrast as well. And note that these contrasts are designed just to pick up specific areas. We haven't done the contrast against the unmodelled blank screen baseline, because in each condition that would show up lots of overlapping things. So what we can do is show the reverse as well, but I'll leave that as an exercise for you to do, to specify the reverse of these to see if there are any areas where there's greater activation for the scrambled than for the objects. But if you don't have any hypotheses about these regions, you might consider whether you need to do it as well. So we've specified these three contrasts. Let's look at the second one, objects more than scrambled. Click Done. Ask the usual questions if we want to apply masking or not, and we don't. We're looking at the whole brain. And we'll do the standard FWE adjustment to the 0.05 level and show up everything. And this is our glass brain view. Our window here has come up looking slightly odd because it wasn't expecting us to have the design matrix in the background. Don't worry too much about that. We've got this nice big area of activation. That's interesting. What I'm going to do is overlay it on some sections so we get a better look at it. I'm going to pop it on that mean structural we made previously. This is a slightly fuzzy looking image because it's the mean of the 5 participant structurals warped into standard space. And that's looking good, but my obvious question here is that the same place as was activated by the faces minus scrambled, or is it close by to it? Because it looks fairly similar. So to answer those questions, you're going to have to watch some later videos on putting multiple blob sets together so you can see where there is overlap or separation. But that's it for contrasts for now.